buddy. Hi, buddy. So, we are a month into this YouTube channel, and my buddy from Saudi Arabia, Kevin Shepard, wrote a comment on one of the videos, and he said, "I'm enjoying the videos so far, great job." Thank you, Kevin. Would like to see a video that discusses pros and cons about what it takes to get to the Philippines and establish oneself in a home with your family, like visas, regulations, etc. Can you just go, or do you need a sponsor like a local wife or husband? What are some of the inconveniences you have experienced or things you did not expect? What life changes have you made that may bother you, or some you made that you thought would bother you but actually did not? Expectations versus reality. Retiring there is something I have often thought about and heard about, but never really hear the gritty details on. I really like the cost of living and insights into the day-to-day life so far and how you detail all those things out so well. Also would like to see a grocery shopping trip. So, great questions, great comments. And we are gonna do a grocery shopping trip tomorrow, both to the regular grocery store, which has more like kind of the things you'd find in a Western grocery store.
Yeah.
And probably because a lot of them are imported, and actually the cost isn't gonna be that much cheaper, may even be more expensive in some cases, because stuff's imported, but the local stuff's cheaper for sure. And then we're also going to do a wet market, which is like the local market that's like the outdoor grocery store with all the fresh vegetables and fish and meats and stuff like that. So we'll show you that, and we'll do that video tomorrow. But I thought you had some good questions, and a lot of them, you know, your questions get into something that I could probably do a video on each one of them. But we'll just go through one by one and see what we can comment on. And I haven't actually showed any of these to my wife yet, so none of this is scripted. We're just gonna talk, and I'll edit out anything you don't want me to share later. Okay?
Okay.
So let's start off. So first, probably the easy one. He says, okay, what it takes to get to the Philippines and establish oneself in a home with your family, like visas, regulations, etc. So you don't have to be married to get to the Philippines. I've got a lot of friends that are single that come to the Philippines all the time. You can get a visa. Well, let me say this: pre-2020 pandemic times, you could get a visa at the airport. Like, just show up, get a and they'll give you a 30-day visa at the airport. And then once you have a 30-day visa, there's local, what do they call them? Like, where you can go and get your visa.
You can go to the Bureau of Immigration and you can just extend it.
Yeah. And I think you could do that for up to, like, keep extending it in maybe 60 days at a time for a small fee, up to a year. And then you could just like do a day trip to like somewhere nearby, like Thailand or something, and then come back and do the same thing all over again. So really easy to do that, and a lot of the guys who aren't married, who are still Americans that I know, did something similar to that. Now, post-pandemic or during the pandemic, Philippines really locked down travel of foreigners. So I don't know what to tell you. It seems to change every day. So you're gonna have to look into that. So that's that answer to that question. As far as one thing I will note, I know a lot of American guys that live here and or talk or intend about to live here. They talk about like buying a condo. For me, that's kind of stupid in some ways. If you're just like, especially if you're just single, you don't need to own anything here. The rent is so cheap, and I did my other video talking about the rent for our 3-bedroom, 3-bath apartment here, which you can check out. So that's like, depending on the currency rate, exchange rate, that's like 360 to 380 a month. And condos, like as a foreigner, you can't own the land.
Yeah.
So if you're buying a condo, you're buying just the unit itself, and typically you're gonna have, you know, what do they call them, HOA fees, like your housing association.
Yeah.
Whatever condo you're part of, you're gonna have housing association fees and taxes and whatever else. Anyways, so save yourself the headache, just rent. And then also if you're renting, like you have way less holding you to a specific area, because if you come to the Philippines and decide you wanna buy something right away, you might find that you don't like that particular town or whatever, and you wanna move to something else, and then you gotta worry about selling it and all that hassle. So I don't even see why a foreigner would wanna buy anything here, just rent, like it's that easy. Now, on the other hand, if you have a wife and kids or family, you can get land and for, you know, there's some good priced land here, and it's, I think, cheaper than a lot of places to build. So there's that option. So this is what I wanted you here for, because she's got a better memory than me, so she's gonna help me think of things. So, what are some of the inconveniences you have experienced, or things you did not expect? So that's the first question, and we'll get into the second part of the question. So, inconveniences you have experienced, or things you did not expect. So, can you think of any things that frustrate me? Here.
Inconveniences, like since this is not, some of the foreigners, since this is not their country, they kind of expect that this can be like their country. So, you know, we Filipinos, like here in the Philippines, we have the culture, and we have also like, we grow up in this type of things. But some foreigners, like I can see from you and from other people also, that we cannot give your expectations. Like we cannot be on your level. So they get frustrated. Example, like if there's the certain attitude of this Filipino, they get pissed off. You know, everybody get, like there are people have some attitudes, but you know, I don't know how to explain. But
so I can think of one.
yeah.
So one example is like you very seldom are you going to ever be told no. So let's say you're asking a question. They don't want to tell you no. They want to tell you yes, even if they don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I find that frustrating sometimes. Like, just tell me you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Tell me you can't do it. Let's say you've got, you know, somebody, you like an electrician or somebody to work on a project for you or something, and you're asking them if they know how to do it. They're going to tell you yes, even if they don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it seems like that's a cultural thing.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's just that you are getting a cheap electrician here, so don't expect that they're gonna do a brilliant job. You know?
Yeah. But
so you're paying us their, like, you know, like level.
do you agree that with that idea that people don't want to tell you no, like? That,
Yeah, there are people like that. I know.
Okay. Because I feel like that's something I've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So other things that I think can frustrate foreigners very quickly if you're not prepared for the fact that you're in a different country and there's just different ways of doing things. For example, traffic driving.
Right.
So I won't say that there's not rules here, although it feels like that. I think there are, in fact, driving rules. I just don't think that most people know them or care or follow them.
Yeah.
So traffic here is more like very chaotic, and I look at it like schools of fish. Like everything's moving all the time, and they're not gonna hit each other because everybody's gonna kind of move and shift. as like a car's coming into lanes of traffic without even looking to see if anybody's, you know, if they're cutting anybody off or anything. Everybody just kind of moves and shifts. So if you're not used to that, like Americans are like, driving in my lane, very rigid, you know, thinking when it comes to that. It can easily frustrate me. But once you get used to it, it's not too bad.
Right.
What are some other things? Oh, if you're a picky eater,
Yeah.
I'm not a picky eater.
Yeah,
I'm the least picky eater I've ever met.
You can't find stuff here that's like a perfect steak.
Right.
You know, you can't here in Palawan.
Right.
I'm sure there are, but we don't really order, like it's super expensive for me. And
Yeah,
for us.
beef in general is really expensive here, and there's not a lot of it, and the cuts are going to be different than you're used to in the States.
Yeah.
Pork and fish is like,
Very
pork, fish,
common.
and chicken is what you're going to eat here.
Or
And if you
ground.
want beef, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's hard. Like I've eaten at a few steak restaurants here, and it's just like, it's not a great steak.
And way expensive.
But I'm not a huge, I mean, I love steak, but it's not something I have to have anyways. For me, like I said, I love any kind of food, and my wife's a fantastic cook. As you can tell, if you've paid any attention to my weight, I gain a lot of weight when I'm here, even though we're doing intermittent fasting and we're doing yoga together in the mornings and stuff like that. Because my wife, I think she shows her love through cooking or something. That's what I like to tell myself. And it's delicious. And she cooks awesome Indian food, Mexican food, Thai food. Like she can find recipes on YouTube and just does a fantastic job. So food's not a problem for me here, but I like all kinds of variety of food. And I've met Americans that are like if you're just a steak and potato kind of guy, you're gonna be a little disappointed here. But that being said, there's lots of local food that's absolutely delicious and very affordable. So, all right. So those are some of the inconveniences you did not experience, or inconveniences you experience, or things you did not expect.
And also, some are like, because this is like, especially here in Palawan, it's very like, what do you call it? Rural.
Oh yeah, rural.
And also like a farm style where you're gonna be waken up by a rooster, and at night, and there are some dogs barking, and also karaoke night. But so far you can complain if it exceeds like 10 p.m. at 10 o'clock at night. Because after 10 o'clock, they are not allowed to do the karaoke anymore. So I think that's one of the stuff that frustrates us. And also here in Palawan, it's very common, the brownout or the blackout. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Where the power goes out.
Yeah.
So you'll be watching something or whatever, you're on your computer and power goes out, so your router goes out, so you lose everything. And a lot of times they're really just quick little brownouts, and then it comes back on. So you just gotta wait for your router to kick back on or whatever. But sometimes, like at night, for example, you'll get one that lasts several hours.
4 hours, and
your air conditioning is off, so you're like, well, we have battery powered fans that we charge ahead of time just for such occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But it can get hot if it's a brownout for too long. So let's see what else. Oh yeah, like people do the dog thing differently too. Like we do the dog on a leash, we get the shots. People do that differently. I had an interesting story, but it's too long to get into now. I'll tell that on another video. Regarding dogs, different cultural views on dogs. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Anything else that you think that I get, like, you've noticed I get frustrated at?
I think that's mostly
So another part of the question: what life changes have you made that may bother you, or some you made that you thought would bother you but actually did not? So like expectations versus reality. Well, so I mean, this isn't specific to the Philippines, but I would say, like, living abroad, so there's a couple interesting things about living abroad, and, you know, one of them is, like, I've been abroad for, I don't know, 10, 11 years or something like that. So when I go back to the States, I feel like a foreigner in my own land. I feel, so for example, I feel more in common with the random expat that I meet, whether they're American or Belgian or Russian or whatever. I feel I have more in common with an expat in the Philippines. We have more to talk about, more similarities than I would with another Alaskan that's never left Alaska. So I didn't expect that, but I found that to be the case. So I think that traveling kind of broadens your worldview, and so I don't know, it's easier to like be on the same page as somebody who's a world traveler, even if Philippines is not somewhere they've been. Like it doesn't mean we have to have been to the same places. It just means that I think world travelers tend to have like a broader mind on a more interesting take on cultures and their own cultures and things like that. I just get along with travel, like expats, more than I do like Americans who've never left America. Have you experienced anything like that? Because my wife we met in Saudi Arabia, and she had worked there for 7 years before she left. So do you find anything similar coming back to the Philippines, like interacting with Filipinos, or?
I kind of feel the same way like you, if I didn't leave Philippines or here in my town, maybe I would just stay the same like the other people here who, I mean, it's not bad, but like, you know, like close-minded. So I kind of experience other, and I kind of experience other country, and I've seen some other cultures, and it's just like the same with you.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, that's a similarity that my wife and I share, that, you know, that's a connection we have, both having been people who left our home country to work abroad, and then we shared the Saudi Arabia experience. Both together, we shared it together and separately for several years before we met each other. And so we had a lot of common ground in both those respects, like being in Saudi together and having left our home countries to travel and work. So I think, again, I felt more of a connection like with you than perhaps I would have to any, you know, just someone who's never traveled. And similarly, like, because of our views, we have a lot of compatibility in like what we want in the rest of our life too. Like, we talk about wanting to continue to travel, even with our kids, like to work in different countries and live in different countries and try different countries. Yeah. And we talk about using the Philippines as like a home base for retirement, having like sort of some permanent residence here where we can like keep stuff, for example. but the idea, even as our kids are growing up or after our kids are grown up, and you know, whether we need to work or not, it might be fun to just go work in different countries for a couple of years at a time, meet new cool people,
right.
Travel that way. You know, one of the things I've found too is working in another country is different than just traveling to another country. I think you get a broader experience. I want to say like richer or deeper experience, because you're gonna meet more people that are real, not people that are on touring or on tourism.
Like you're gonna feel like what it's like to be in that country.
Yeah. So you're gonna, and you can go and, or in my case, like, work out at the local gym, meet people there, do jujitsu, meet people that way, meet people you work with who are from the country, people you work with who are expats, and I don't know. I think even if I didn't have to work, I would still enjoy experiencing other countries through working, like by working. I think it was, just a cool way to experience a place. So, a little bit of a tangent there, but all good stuff. What life changes you have made that may have bothered you, or some that you thought would bother you, but actually did not? Oh, well, again, in regards to living somewhere that's far away from home, if I'm ever going to see my family, I have to be the one that's going to travel to see them. They're never going to come visit me. Even if I offer to make it, very, help out with getting them over here, I still haven't gotten any bites on having my family visit ever. So, and that's been the case anywhere I've ever been abroad. So I think that, but that's nothing to do with the Philippines, I don't think, specifically. It's just depends on, I guess your family. I think a lot of Americans, for example, even if they have the means to leave their country, like they hesitate to do so or whatever. I don't know. So that's been interesting, being so far away from friends and family across the world. But so one cool thing that I guess is like just like a surprising benefit of being here, I would say having nannies, because for me, because I never in my life thought that I would, be able to afford having nannies, like helpers that live in the house and help with the kids and with the household chores and things like that. And to me, that always seemed very bougie, like something really, really rich people would do. But here, it's so affordable that, and when you weigh like the benefits of it compared to the cost, it's like, it makes total sense to do it. And it makes like our relationship better, because we have help with the kids too. So for example, like if we want to go to the movies or on a date, we can do it. If we want to spend time, with each other, like even just in the house, like spend more time, private time with each other, watch a movie or play a board game together or something, we've got more help in the house to do things. It's like when I'm in town, when we're together, it gives us more time together. And if we want to spend time with our kids, doing activities with our kids, we have help with the house chores too. So it just frees up a lot of time. It's like you're buying extra time for a really good rate. So that's a huge benefit to living in the Philippines with small kids.
Right.
That brings up another interesting point when you're talking about living in the Philippines with small kids. So one thing I really love about Philippine culture that I feel has gone nearly disappeared from American culture, or at least in the locations I've been. In American culture, you don't see lots of kids playing on the street anymore. I don't see kids outside playing. And here you see it all the time. There's kids all over playing outside, and our neighbors are playing in their driveway in the evening or the morning, and our kids can go out and play with them. And I don't know specifically what I attribute that to, although I would say that it seems like America has gone to like gadgets, you know, the kids are all watching TV or playing with electronics, and something about American culture has just kept people from getting outside and playing. But I grew up playing outside in the dirt and the mud with my friends, getting dirty, getting the dinner bell or getting called that way for dinner. And that still exists here. So, you know,
There are parts of the Philippines too where the kids are just more into gadgets or TV.
yeah, maybe
We're just locked out here in Palawan because we can see other kids playing outside, outdoors. You know?
Yeah, that's true. I noticed in Manila, for example, when we went to the restaurant or something, like not just the kids, but like everybody's
the
there on their gadgets, which kind of grosses me out. But yeah, here maybe in Palawan, it's more rural, and also maybe less money for gadgets. I don't know. Maybe less good internet. I don't know what the root cause is, but I love that part of the culture. And so when you combine that culture of kids getting outside and playing with each other, and with the fact that you can have nannies, I think you know, Philippines is an awesome place to raise young kids. Those two things combined make it an awesome place to raise young kids. We haven't tried raising our kids older yet, because you know our son's turning 5, going to be turning 5 this year. Our daughter just turned 3, so we'll see what that's like. And we've already talked about potentially leaving the Philippines when the kids are older for the sake of their education. So maybe going to the United States or Europe or Australia or something like that. But again, like, I'm not 100% convinced that, for example, the private school here would be much worse than the public school in America. You know, like, and I don't think I can afford private school in America necessarily, but I could afford private school here. So that may be something to consider too. Like, there may be good enough private schools here that we may stay longer. But I do want my kids to experience also not just the schools, but experience American culture or experience some other cultures, so that they can have a broad mind and they're not just stuck in like a Philippine culture, which there's nothing wrong with the Philippine culture, but again, like we talked about, us traveling outside of our home countries broadened our minds so much that we want our kids to have that same experience. So whether that's through me or Corey working in different countries, and then us living that way, you know, we do want our kids to experience that. So, but that may be, you know, when they're 8 or 9 or maybe sooner, who knows, we'll see. Yeah. So that's some positive, some negative, I guess. Can you think of anything else?
No.
So I guess one thing that's kind of cool is, so like before I moved to the Philippines, I was ultra frugal because I did have an idea of retiring early. And so even no matter where I've lived or how much money I've made, I've always been super, super frugal. But when I moved to the Philippines, activities here, and not so much material items, because I'm still frugal when it comes to material items, but activities are so affordable and fun, and it's an awesome place that, like, I don't feel the need to watch spending super closely when it comes to activities. Like, if we want to go do something with the kids, or go out here, go out there, or even go out to eat, it's very affordable here. So it's been really nice I still feel like I'm living frugal, I'm saving money and you know, investing in the future, but I don't have to watch the spending when it comes to activities. And still, when it comes to material things, I think both of us are pretty frugal when it comes to that anyway. So, but yeah, that's been a nice, pleasant pleasant thing about living in the Philippines. So, what else? You think of anything? No. Yeah. One thing that's different about the Philippines, well, different, you know, for my family, let's say, family's a big thing here in the Philippines, so families are very close. So I think that, like, like Corey's got a lot of family nearby, a couple hours away in her hometown, but also nearby, and that's really helpful. A lot of times, like her sisters are always really helpful if we need something, and then they're you know, they're around a lot too, and sometimes like families share a lot, so I think we'll help out sometimes, like if with, you know, like her dad had some medical costs or something like that. So I think that's normal, very normal in the Philippines for people to help share in costs.
Especially to your parents.
Especially to your parents, yeah. And so I guess that, and you know, I suppose that would be the same in America too. Like if my parents really needed something, you know, I would try and help, certainly. But it's definitely like, it seems culturally here more collaborative, I guess, which is kind of cool in some ways. The families are very close, and even like extended families are close. Like I kind of wish my extended family in America was as close as the extended families are here. It's not Saturday, buddy. Bjorn's asking if it's what day is it because he knows he gets to watch some cartoons on Saturdays. So that's tomorrow, buddy. So yeah, so that's good. I mean, I think we've answered most of the questions. We'll do the grocery shopping trip tomorrow and give you the answers to that.
Yep.
What else? Anything? No. See you on the next one.